Do we happen to have the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila here in English? In the temple? Do we have that? Madhya Lila chapter 7. If we don't, I'll read from the computer. If we have, we'll try to read from the book. This again is a very amazing part of the culture or country we call India now. It's very deep and rich in literature from thousands of years ago, not just recently. And it's all written in poetic form. It's quite amazing. And some in the ancient language called Sanskrit, which is said to be the oldest language in the world by most linguists. And or in other languages of India. They have many languages, you probably know. English? Chapter 7. Thank you, Natali. Chapter 7, I think the verse 130. And this book was written, again, around about 500 years ago. It's a little bit more recent. And this is written in Bengali by one great spiritual devotee, very advanced spiritually, compiled this literature to describe the wonderful, call them pastimes, the wonderful life and teachings of a personality called Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And unless you're a member of the Hare Krishna movement, or you come from Bengal, maybe from other places in India, you may have heard of him. Otherwise, no one in the world has heard of him. I mean, before coming to the Hare Krishna movement, who had heard of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu? Hardly anyone. Maybe some Indologists, some historians maybe, if they're studying, religion or something, may have heard the name, but they won't know much really about him. They may know something, a little they've heard. And even in India, most people have never heard of him. In Gujarat, how many people have heard of Lord Chaitanya? Not so many, I think. Maybe they've heard him as one of the saints, but not much more than that. But he's a very special personality. He's described to be a form of Krishna. Krishna, mostly everyone's heard of these days. Pretty much world over, perhaps even in South America. Some of you are from South America. Maybe some of the boys are from South America, I spoke today. You're from South America? Have you ever heard of Krishna before coming here? No, just see. Even now, people have not heard. But in most parts of the world, at least many people have heard of Krishna in the Western Hemisphere. And other names which they use as a dress or a name of the Supreme Person, the Supreme Being, who can, one of the characteristics of the Supreme Being is he's supreme. He can do what he likes. We would love to do what we like. We would love to be able to do whatever we like, go where we like, behave, dress, appear as we like, etc. Everything for my pleasure in the material world. We love to see everything arranged the way we see things. That's a characteristic which we all have, and it's something which is found because we also have the qualities of the Supreme in small quantity. So he appeared in this form, this described here 500 years ago, but in a way which is very different. He appeared to share a simple process of self-realization. Thank you, Vishnu. God realization for the day that we live in, this present age, is a very joyful process, a very simple process. And anyone can take it or leave it. In Sanskrit, the ancient language, it's called Sankirtan, which means, San can mean with others, or it can mean complete, full. And Kirtan means, in different people's minds, it will mean different things, but it's a popular word in the West now also, Kirtan, in many areas. And it's quite common amongst people in many Western cities now, Kirtan. They come together and chant ancient mantras, ancient songs to purify their consciousness, experience some inner peace and some maybe what they term spirituality, but it goes much deeper than that. Is to awaken what we're really looking for. We're all looking for love. We're all looking for loving relationships. And in this world, our loving relationships are limited by time. They're limited by many factors: time, place, circumstance. But spiritual relationships are eternal, and they're unlimited, to be said. So we're going to read something from this book. It's called Chaitanya Charitamrita. Chaitanya Charitamrita means basically the nature of the living entity in a liberated condition, let's say. Freed of the restrictions of this material world, freed of the influence of time and the nature of transcendence. When great personalities come into this world, either if the Supreme Himself wishes, that's His choice, or His representatives come from time to time to give a glimpse of this eternal nature. Jesus Christ was one amongst them in different ways, other prophets and spiritual personalities who give a little hint or give a little opportunity for us. So here's more than an opportunity, and it's an opportunity, but it's one which is on our doorstep. It's a living opportunity to experience, to connect, to awaken within our own hearts, with our own consciousness, our spiritual nature, our relationship to the divine. And we're going to read now. At that time, 500 or so years ago, when this personality, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, was on this planet in India, he travelled quite broadly through India. And he came to one village which is now in Andhra Pradesh, on the border somewhere, Orissa and Andhra Pradesh. It's called Kurmakshetra. That's the name of the village. And there was one Brahmin means like a priest, who was living in the village. His name was also Kurma. Oftentimes names would be named after a person or the person named after the place. So he was known as the Kurma Brahmana. And he happened to meet with Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Lord Chaitanya's mission was to go everywhere and to engage everyone in dancing and chanting the names, this mantra. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. Singing joyfully and dancing. And it's described here how wherever he went, people were simple and full of faith. They would join in dancing and chanting and feeling the ecstasy of the association. It's said that this mantra is not just like a mantra for material purposes. This is a spiritual sound vibration. It's like sound in this world affects our consciousness. Sometimes when we're in a certain mood, we like to hear certain music, or if we want to evoke a certain mood, we play certain music. Sound is a very powerful element, and even materially. So what to speak of spiritually? I think in the Bible it says, in the beginning was the Word. It was a sound. Creation comes pretty much, you could say, from sound. Powerful element. Most effective of our senses is practically the ear. Even when we're sleeping, the ear is still, to a more degree than the other senses, awake. It's more than the others. We wake up usually with an alarm clock or some sound. And sound is very powerful. And we hear. Most of our knowledge comes from hearing. Now we have books and other methods, and we have our eyes to witness, but hearing is a very important aspect developing our understanding or knowledge. So this sound is said to be a spiritual sound which is descended from a spiritual realm, not just a make-up sound. It's an eternal sound vibration which is comprised of various names of the Supreme Being. Krishna means the all-attractive, Rama means the supreme enjoyer, Hare is the energy of that Supreme Person. Yes, we say persons, we're persons. We all have our personality, so if one believes in an origin, the origin by scientific logic has to have the qualities of the creation. Reflection has it may be perverted, but that which is reflected has to have the general characteristics of that which is of what is reflected, what we see in the reflection. So personality, but unique, spiritual, is not material like ours. So this sound also is not like an ordinary material sound. You can chant this mantra forever and ever increasingly feel, let's say, inspired, and the relationship can develop more and more and more. Just like we give an address in this world, we use a name to address a person, address an object, to address anything which exists practically. It has a label or a name. And it's an address, and when we hear the word or the name of somebody, it may remind you of them, or something related to your country if you're from Argentina or some South American country or from Czech Republic. You'll hear something about Prague or Buenos Aires or something, and it reminds you of your homeland or somebody from that place. It reminds us, so even materially that effect is there to some degree, what to speak of spiritually. So when we chant Hare Krishna mantra, Maha mantra means great mantra, to remind us of who we are, not just Argentinian or Brazilian or Czech or English or Australian or wherever we're American, wherever we're from. But to remind us of our spiritual identity. So Lord Chaitanya was giving this gift to everyone. He didn't discriminate. Everyone was welcome. Join in. Taste it. They say the proof, if you want to taste the honey, you have to open the jar and taste it. You can't just lick on the bottle. One has to enter in to taste the honey in the jar. Similarly, in this case, you may like honey, you may not like honey, so the choice is yours. At least one tries, one makes the endeavor to see whether or not this is for me, so to speak. So he was distributing this mantra everywhere, and every village he would go to, people would come and they would take up the chanting, continue to chant. This way he was, spreading this message, spreading this simple process of love of God everywhere. And in Kurmakshetra, this village, was no exception. So this Brahmin came forward. He wanted to go and join Lord Chaitanya and leave his home and go travel with this great personality, Lord Chaitanya. But Lord Chaitanya said, no, you stay here. You stay here. It doesn't matter where you are. You stay wherever you are. You can do that. You don't have to move. You just cultivate this process and you share it with others. When you have something very nice, or some nice information, some nice food, whatever it may be, it's good to share it with others. And for many people, they like to share it with others. We don't want to be a miser. We want others to also taste it. If you're tasting something nice, it's natural one tries to give that to others. Even medicine, if you have a good medicine for a disease, you like to suggest it to others if they have the same disease. It's the nature of the soul. We want to share with others because sharing, caring is a part of loving, is a part of relationship. And it's only natural, so it's there in the Supreme. He wants everyone to experience what we should be experiencing. And bliss, an existence of bliss eternally. He's giving this mantra, which is primary process to awaken this spiritual knowledge, the spiritual realization. And he told this Brahmin, you stay where you are and you cultivate and you share that with others. And then Lord Chaitanya left that village, went on his journey further south into the south of India. And in the meantime there was one local, he was also a very spiritual man, very spiritual personality, inclined, called devotee, but he had leprosy. It's not so common nowadays, but leprosy was a very common disease. I think even in Europe it was quite common, but especially in Asia, very common. Not so common now. And his name was Vasudev. He had leprosy. So I'm going to read on from this point. Very interesting pastime or event. Amrahaiti kida kasya padaya utana se kida rakhe setan. Although suffering from leprosy, the Brahmin Vasudeva was enlightened, spiritually enlightened. As soon as one worm fell from his body, he would pick it up and place it back again in the same location. We probably don't have much experience of this. Sometimes we have experience of being bitten by a mosquito or a tick or something like that. You generally don't, it goes, oh, please come back and continue. We don't usually act like that. Oh, my dear tick, please keep ticking. We don't usually respond like that. Why is he doing this? Well, he considers that, they have every right to their residence there, their food and whatever. He doesn't want to disturb their, their agenda. Poor bug, he's now devoid of his dinner. He was having dinner and he fell off. He puts him back on again. Not today. Ratite shrilateho goshanira agamam Ekipare aila prabhate kurnera bhavan. Then one night Vasudeva heard that Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had arrived. And in the morning he came to see the Lord at the house of Kurma. The Lord Chaitanya stayed at Kurma's house for a while. Prabhura gamana Kurma mukete shunina bhumite padila duke morchita hana. When the leper Vasudeva came to Kurma's house to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he was informed that the Lord had already left. The leper then fell to the ground unconscious. I missed him. And then we also may have some similar kinds of emotions when we go somewhere. We miss the train. Yesterday some of our devotees from Brisbane missed the plane to Brisbane. You say, oh no, I missed the plane. I missed them, they've gone. Too late. So the Brahmin missed Lord Chaitanya, this leper. And he was a Brahmin by birth, diseased. Aneka pakara vila pakari tela vila sekshane asi prabhu tanre alingila. When Vasudeva, the leper Brahmin, was lamenting due to not being able to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Lord immediately returned to that spot and embraced him. He's in the heart, the Supreme Being is aware of all of our thoughts. He immediately appeared before him again because of his sincere desire in his heart, his pure desire, his selfless desire, to have this opportunity to have the darshan of the Lord. Prabhu sparshe dukha sanjay kushta dure gela ananda sahite anga sundara haila. When Chaitanya Mahaprabhu touched him, both the leprosy and his distress went to a distant place. We may not have leprosy as such, but we all have certain conditions. Maybe health conditions, mental conditions. Maybe we have ill desires for not such good things sometimes. We all have certain, whatever you want to call it, inebrieties of various kinds, anomalies, whatever. Or we may not even recognize the fact that we are full of material desire, which may not seem such a bad thing if we're in the material world. Everyone has. But those material desires cause us to stay in the material world. They cause us to suffer karma eventually. They cause us to suffer birth and death in this world. So they're the causes. They may not in of themselves appear that way, but they're the causes of potential suffering in the future. So it's a kind of an unpleasant situation. Disease means dis-at-ease, when we're not comfortable. It's not a comfortable situation. Being in a body and a mind which is, subjected to all kinds of happinesses and distresses is not natural for the soul. We take it as natural because we've been in this world for so long. We have no idea. Even this lifetime, we have no experience outside of that practically. Our body and our mind, and hearing from others, of course, who are in a similar state. So in this way, the living entity is more or less, you could say, subjected to whatever comes its way in the course of nature, which is due to our karma. Happiness and distress come and go. It's a disease condition for the soul who always wants pleasure, always wants love, who always wants knowledge and doesn't like to be in ignorance. It's unnatural to be in a situation where ignorance is kind of more or less normal. And happiness comes and goes, and we don't live very long. The body only lasts a few years. And the mind is always changing, it's never fixed, it's very fickle. So it's a kind of disease condition also. When this Vasudeva was embraced by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, his disease, literal disease in his case, leprosy, disappeared. Not really a big deal for one who's on that level of spiritual consciousness, but from a material point of view, it's what we call a miracle. But miracles are, everything's a miracle when you really look at it. And not only that, but it states here that his distress went away. Whatever lamentation he had, whatever anxiety, whatever he was, they all disappeared. Both gross and subtle ailments were removed. This is the nature of one who genuinely embraces spiritual life. All one's simple anxiety, stress, etc. If we're genuinely embracing, there's no more material stress, anxiety, no more material suffering. The suffering is there because of the suffering of others. One who's in this platform, paradukkha dukhi, they say, they suffer because others are suffering. They cannot tolerate the fact that others are suffering. So there's plenty of opportunity in this world today to feel this compassion because there's a hell of a lot of suffering. Always has been, but we're more aware of it now, social media and what have you. It's a great opportunity to become. And there are two types of compassion. One is the material compassion, which is also important, of course. But the real solution is spiritual compassion, to help to enlighten others about their true identity. If we understand our true identity as spiritual beings, never mind what type of body we're in, what gender we are, what our conditions are, what our habits are, it's all irrelevant in a sense, absolutely It may be relevant on a material platform, but spiritually speaking, it has no real meaning. It's just a temporary position. To realize our spiritual identity, that we're all equal. Every living entity is equal in quality. Maybe we're different in personality, but the quality of our existence or our nature is the same. No one is, in a material sense, we see so much duality. Duality, when seen in the spiritual light, is not a problem. When it's seen spiritually, then the duality becomes harmonious. Separately, it becomes frictional, conflict, differences, fighting, arguing, so many problems, exploiting others, and disharmony and suffering as a result. When we see things spiritually, we will come with one central point. We can work harmoniously together with loving exchange also. So this is the principle. Not that we just try to artificially create harmony. People do, with good intention, but without the spiritual understanding, it's only limited. Vasudev's body became very beautiful, to his great happiness. I'm sure we would be too if we were in a condition like that. And the Brahmin Vasudeva was astonished to behold the wonderful mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he began to recite a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam. It's another ancient scripture, said to be 5,000 years of age, written in Sanskrit, ancient language. And he recited a verse. He said, "Who am I, a sinful poor friend of a Brahmin? And who is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, full with 6 opulences? Nonetheless, he has embraced me with his 2 arms. So it's fortune. We don't necessarily have the time, but somehow or another we've got this opportunity to, let's say, adopt what is very rarely given, very rare opportunity, simple opportunity to awaken our real self-realization, spiritual understanding. So there are many processes, but this is the simplest and most effective, according to scriptures, is the chanting of this mantra. There are many other processes, no doubt. But in this day and age, they're very difficult to perform. They may take us so far, maybe to piety, maybe to some cosmic realization, maybe even liberation. But to awaken our relationship, our eternal constitutional nature is very rare. And in this age, which we're in the materialistic age, it's made very simple through this chanting. We're not great scholars. We're not very austere, mostly. So made simple, chanting the mantra. The Brahmin Vasudeva continued, "O my Lord, such mercy is not possible for ordinary living entities. Such mercy can be found only in you. Upon seeing me, even a sinful person goes away due to my bad bodily odor. Yet you have touched me. Such is the independent behavior of the Supreme Personality of God." This is the nature of love. It's not discriminatory as such. We may, shy away. Surprising sometimes in certain situations. But the Lord is watching. He's in everyone's heart. And He's always trying to awaken, inspire us to remember that, to remember our relationship. He never leaves us. He never leaves us. It's just like a father and a mother. Maybe they do now, but in normal, not many, I don't know if it's even normal anymore, but we would say normally, they never forget their children. Even if they go away, they're always thinking. It's a natural emotion. To protect the Brahmin, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Oh, he missed a sentence. Being meek and humble, the Brahmin Vasudeva worried. He became very worried. Now another type of worry comes in. because he was worried that he might become proud after being cured by the grace of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Pride. We easily become overwhelmed by pride in our material lives and in our spiritual lives. You know, when we achieve something or we get some recognition, it's easy to become proud. We may like to show off and so on. That's quite easy. That's another cause of bondage, or another cause of, let's say, karmic continuation of the karmic cycle. So he was afraid of becoming proud. It's easy done. He's now a beautiful young man. Previously he was untouchable. Practically people wouldn't go near him. He had leprosy. Now he's afraid. He was afraid of becoming proud. So Lord Chaitanya then said, to protect the Brahmin, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu advised him to chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra incessantly. By doing so, he would never become unnecessarily proud. A little pride will always be there as long as we're encased in this material world. But unnecessarily proud, that which is not really good for us. So if you chant this mantra constantly, you will be protected from that. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also advised Vasudeva to preach about Krishna and thus liberate living entities, free them from birth and death, free them from suffering. As a result, Krishna would very soon accept him as his devotee. And Srila Prabhupada writes, although Vasudeva Vipra was a leper and had suffered greatly, still Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu cured him. The only return the Lord wanted was that Vasudeva preach the instructions of Krishna and liberate all human beings. In other words, be merciful, be compassionate. This is the most auspicious, universally auspicious thing to do, to help people on their spiritual paths. No matter what path they're following, but to help them to genuinely follow progress on their path. That is the process of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. That's what our movement is called, officially. Each and every member of this society was rescued from a very abominable condition. We may not see it always like that. We may think we're well situated materially and happy materially for some time at least. But abominable meaning that we're in a lifestyle which is causing a continuation. Karma literally means activity which causes the further development of the material body. Not just an activity, but it causes the future development of various material bodies. So if we want that, that's our choice. If we want to become freed or liberated from that, then this process is here. And Prabhupada, our spiritual teacher, tells us that's our business here, to share that with us. They are not only cured of the disease called materialism, most people don't see that as a disease, or the bodily identification of life. If you're able to get an appointment with the doctor, usually the doctor will ask you, what's the problem? And if you say to them, I'm too attached to the material world. I think I am the body. They would definitely think there's something wrong with you, but maybe not physically, maybe psychologically wrong. Because pretty much everyone in this world is conditioned to that. I am the body, and material enjoyment is the purpose of life. For many people it's like this. Most people. But here, he's afraid of this. This is a disease, material sense enjoyment. We do need sense enjoyment. By nature, Nandamaya Visat, the living entity, is searching for happiness. We want pleasure. There's several different kinds of pleasure. The type of material pleasure we're getting now is one. And another pleasure is a spiritual pleasure. There's two types of spiritual pleasure. One is just that from liberation, and one is from loving reciprocation with Krishna or the Supreme Being. That's our choice. So if we don't get a higher taste. Bhagavad Gita, Krishna states this. We may try to restrain ourselves from material sense gratification, but the desire remains in our heart. When we experience a higher taste, then one becomes not interested anymore. You have a higher taste, a much more satisfying taste. There's no question of having to fight against the pushings of lust or whatever it may be. You have a higher taste, and you embrace that higher taste, and there's no need to worry about getting a lower taste. The purpose of everything we do practically, well, the effectivity is the taste that we get from it. Food, the taste we get. There's nourishment also. The taste is very significant. When something tastes nice, we like it. We want it. We're looking for the taste. We're looking for the juice. And there's no juice, we don't usually want to go there. We don't feel satisfied. We're all looking for that inner satisfaction. We're not looking for an object, we're looking for happiness, we're looking for satisfaction, we're looking for peace and love. It's not the object or the person, but wherever we can find that, that's what we're attracted towards. The ultimate attraction is Krishna's all attractive. He's the reservoir of happiness, the reservoir of love. So that's the higher taste. Easy to become detached from everything else. As a result, they are not only cured of the disease called materialism, but are also living a very happy life. Everyone accepts them as great devotees of Krishna, and their qualities are manifest in their very faces. If one wants to be recognized as a devotee of Krishna, he should take to spreading or preaching this message, following the advice of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then one will undoubtedly attain the lotus feet of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Lord Krishna himself, without delay. Hare Krishna. You're patient, you've been sitting here for 1 hour. You may be very hungry now. I hope you're not angry. Sometimes a hungry man is an angry man. A hungry woman is an angry woman. So we please beg your forgiveness if we in any way interfered with your evening in any way. Hare Krishna. Any comments or questions? Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Maharaj, thank you. I was just wondering, something you said towards the end. How can we get higher taste when still we have this lust?
There's prasadam being served out there. Prasadam. I hope, and if it's not, you'll become very disappointed. How do we get this higher taste?
When there's still lust.
When there's still lust. Well, transformation does take time. Naturally, things, even in our daily experience, when there's darkness, how do you get light? You can use a little battery torch, which doesn't create that much, something, little benefit. But real light is when the sun rises, isn't it? When the sun rises, is there still darkness? If you close your eyes, lock yourself in a dark room or something, yes, you can still get darkness. But in general speaking, at night there's darkness, or maybe sunlight, but it's basically dark. And the daytime there's light when the sun rises. It does take a little time. As the sun gradually rises, the darkness gradually dissipates. So as our, let's say, attraction to Krishna, or taste for service to Krishna, you get the taste, as we said earlier, by applying it. You don't get the taste by reading the label on the bottle of honey or the chocolate bar. You have to open it and taste it, then you can see for yourself. The proof of the pudding, as George Harrison writes in one of our books actually, is in the tasting. So as you taste, for the spiritual, the taste for the material will decline. They'll both be there to some degree in the beginning, and there'll be a mixed kind of life in many ways. And sometimes we resort to the material way of thinking, and maybe sometimes the material way of acting, or attraction for material sense enjoyment still there. There is accommodation for this in the path of spiritual life. There is no doubt accommodation for the gradual transformation. You start by regulating the sense gratification or the lusty intentions. They're regulated instead of uncontrolled. And at the same time trying to practice purification. It's like when you clean your body, it takes some time when it's very dirty to scrub all the dirt off, or your clothes to scrub out those dirt stains from your clothes. It takes time. Cleansing process. If you have a cup full of dirty water and you want to, you can use different examples, of course. You can pour it straight out, that's one thing, but in this example you're trying to fill it up with something else. And even if you do pour it straight out, that means it's empty. We don't want to be empty. There's every chance it can become full of dirty water again. So you have to fill it up with something else. So gradually, as we fill it up with some other liquid, maybe milk or something, gradually the dirty water becomes next to nil after a period of time. So the more we fill our hearts and our lives with what we call Krishna consciousness, generally speaking, Krishna conscious activity, Krishna conscious thoughts, etc., then the vessel of our mind, or the vehicle of the mind, becomes more and more cleansed of material desire, and less lust and greed, anger and envy, less and less these powerful influences will be less and less. And it's largely evoked as the darkness is removed by sunlight. Even without the sunlight removes the darkness. When the sun rises, it's a full removal. So at our stage, it's like the sunlight. We're not realized. But the sunlight coming from or through the spiritual preceptors, through the association of those who are realized, those who are spiritually advanced, the light that comes through them. Enlightens us, it awakens us up, and helps to bring us out of the darkness into the light. So it's gradual, by association. By association we become covered over in the material world, and by association, spiritual association, we become delivered or liberated. So it's by association primarily. The more we choose spiritual association, the more the process can be accelerated. The more we choose material association, the slower it will be. It may even be curtailed for some time. So it depends on the soul, and it depends on the Supreme Soul too. From our perspective, from our side, it depends on our desire, sincere desire. And if we have a sincere desire, we'll try to choose the right association, which will be favorable for this transformation. By association, that's why Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, emphasized we should try to keep engaged. They say the idle mind is the devil's workshop. It comes with all kinds of doubts and crazy ideas and negative thoughts about others, and criticisms and pride, all sorts of things manifest. They're there already in the seedling form. Give them half a chance, they sprout. So to keep engaged, if you're really into it, if you're really serious about this, in devotional service 24 hours a day, one way or another. We may not be ready for it, but at least we make a start. This takes a little time. Hare Krishna. Okay. Yes, Christopher.
Prabhupada said that living in the association of devotees is more important than chanting Hare Krishna.
Did he say that? I don't recollect him saying that, but he may have done. But never very. I mean, what are you going to do in the association of devotees? What are you going to do? Sit there all day looking at them? You could do. They might ask you to do something, and then if you don't want to do it, you might, maybe go somewhere else or something. We're going to chant. It's the association of devotees by which we awaken the chanting. That's how it starts, isn't it? So in that sense, yes, without the association, nothing's impossible. Generally speaking, by the association of devotees, directly or indirectly, whether it's through social media, some other form or another, the inclination to chant Hare Krishna awakens. At least the inclination to chant it with the right understanding. Other people may chant mimically, or they may just chant because they hear a song somewhere. But even that ultimately comes because of the devotees who sang it or got someone else to sing it, or the person heard it from some devotee or something. So indirectly or directly, it's the association of devotees which is, you could say, the impetus, the catalyst for people chanting, me or anyone else. So in that sense, yes, the association of devotees is paramount. And then the association of devotees, the most, in this particular time anyway, the most important activity within the association of devotees is chanting. Lord Chaitanya himself said of all the principles, and including the 5 primary characteristics or practices of devotional service, association of devotees is one, and chanting Hare Krishna is another. Lord Chaitanya said chanting Hare Krishna is the most important. So, but it's evoked in the association, they all go together. And real association of devotees means that together we put Krishna in the center and glorify him in various ways. That's kind of an interesting question, and it can be seen from different angles, I would say. And so first, association of devotees. You may hear the mantra, you say that's the first thing, but because of the devotees who are singing it, or they got someone else to sing it, or someone else picked it up from them, and they're singing or chanting it, and then you may, that's fun, that's good, I like that, Hare Krishna, whatever. But because of the association of devotees, Lord Chaitanya and his followers, the Maha Mantras come into this world, present in this world today, by that association. And to cultivate or to practice Krishna consciousness is essential to have association. To cultivate pure chanting is association is essential. To have the guidance of a pure devotee is essential. If we want to become pure, you can receive purity from purity. We don't get it from impurity. If we want love of God, you have to get it from someone who has love of God, by their association. If we want pure chanting, you have to associate with pure chanters. And that doesn't always mean physically, especially now we're blessed, in one sense, cursed in another. The social media has given us this opportunity also to hear. It may not be quite the same as the physical presence, but it's very effective that we hear through other means, because we may live thousands of miles away from, or hundreds of miles away from others who are in the same line. So we keep in touch in various ways. And through the mind also we keep in touch by remembering. And so many other ways, especially personal association. If that's not available, we have books, so many books which we associate with. Prabhupada said, if you want to know me, you know me by reading my books. You associate with Prabhupada by reading his books. And what does he say in his books? Many things. But primary amongst them is chant Hare Krishna, and many other things too. It's not all that is said. So many things. But for everyone. Through an association of devotees, we can chant and we can cultivate chanting with the right attitude. That chanting becomes pure, without any selfish motivation. Those kind of unique questions, which has unique ways of looking at it. Thank you. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanandi.